little excitement. You want a cocktail or anything?
I got this water. I quit drinking about 19 years ago.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
19. You quit 19 years ago? How old were you?
25.
25? So it didn't take long.
No, no, I was the guy, dude.
Oh.
That guy. I was blacking out all the time. I was that guy.
You're okay.
It's never a positive story that you miss when you wake up from a blackout. It was ever like, dude, you were at the old folks' home helping out for 3 hours. Nobody ever says that.
No.
Yeah.
Welcome to our interview with Tom Simmons, and we're now live on the web, so if anyone's sitting on the front row is with someone they shouldn't be with, sorry.
Anyone?
You've been outed.
Anyone?
That's right. Tom, you grew up where?
I'm a mutt. I was born in New York on Long Island. I moved in Hicksville actually, and then there was a divorce, and then we moved to Illinois, and then Wisconsin, and then Atlanta, and then back to Wisconsin, and then back to Atlanta. My sister was like a world-class figure skater, so as she went up the ladder, she would move to a new training facility, and we'd kind of move there with her. So.
Oh wow! And now you said there was a divorce. So were you with your mom?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And your sister is your only sibling? Are there more brothers and sisters?
I'm the middle kid. I have an older sister and a little sister. We're about 3 years from my older sister and 1 year and a half.
And the older sister was the figure skater? And what's her name?
Jackie Farrell was her last name at the time. Yeah.
Did somebody recognize that name? Oh, okay.
She was like big in like the 83, 84. She beat Katarina Witt in 83, and then she was one of those typical like full-blown bulimia and all that shit from being a little kid trying to be in that, and then that kind of came in 84, and then she missed out on the Olympics that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I've known you for so long, and I've never known that story.
Yeah, it's not really a story I don't really talk about that much, but that's what.
But that's pretty wild. Is she good now?
Yeah, now she's good now. She's healthy. She's got kids. Although she just lost a bunch of stuff in Sandy because she literally on the Weather Channel as Sandy was coming in, every arrow that went to the highest tide was like pointing to her house.
Oh.
So yeah, she had like jellyfish in her downstairs and.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh.
So, but she's 47, 48, and she's 47. She's training now to be a long track speed skater. So she's actually pretty good at that too, just because she's always been great at skating.
Does she actually want to compete like in the Olympics or something?
She would like to at least make it to nationals, and you'd be amazed. There's not a lot of people doing it. There's only a few tracks in the United States where they can even train, and she's got muscle memory from all those years of being on the ice, and she's just better than a lot of people.
Does she know
she's already broken records in her age group and stuff, so she's trying to train and get there. Yes.
Does she know there's a reason there's not a lot of people that do that?
Yeah, that's what I told her. It's like you're getting older. You're gonna, you got to be like Chipper Jones. You got to take some time off. Yeah.
That's amazing. What about your little sister?
My little sister is she was kind of the fuck up of the family, and now she's like the star. You know what I mean? She was more into alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, and then she got sober and went through that whole process, and now she's like pretty big in the rehab industry and runs some facilities and stuff like that. So she's like got her working on her masters, and she's an amazing woman.
Wow. And so when your parents split up, you were fairly young?
Yes.
Yes. And so your dad, did he stay in New York?
Yes.
Yes. And are your parents still alive? Mom and dad?
My mom is, and the guy I call my dad, and my stepdad is still alive. My real father died 7 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But your stepdad was pretty much the person that raised you.
Yeah.
All right. And then now, was there anybody in your childhood, I would say your early years, was there anybody that in the family, close friends, that was an entertainer? Was there anything around you? Well, obviously your sister was an entertainer somewhat. I mean,
otherwise, no. When I started comedy, my mom was like, "Well, you're not even that funny. What are you doing?" But yeah. So no, I just everybody's pretty funny in my family, but nobody's in entertainment. Yeah, I just fell in love with it watching it on television, and then. you know, just that first time you get on stage and you make people laugh. You know how it is.
Sure.
It's like a drug. You know?
Well, back to when you were growing up, when you were in high school, were you a popular guy?
Not really. I was always the new kid, so a little bit. I could make people laugh, so I got away with that.
Were you in sports?
So I was and I played football and stuff, so I had some level, but I'm kind of a shy person, so it was in a high school was a mess anyway. It was okay. I never felt like I didn't have friends, but I wasn't like in the group.
Right.
I was kind of the guy that was friends with everybody.
So you say kind of a shy person. So just out there and growing up, and probably even today, when you're just out in public, you're not especially gregarious.
No, I don't. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'll get in a good mood. If I'm at a Waffle House, I'll be fucking talking to people. You know what I mean? My wife used to be like, she'd wander away, and she'd come back, and I'd be talking to a homeless guy for 15 minutes. So sometimes, yes. But for the most part, I just kind of, you know, keep my head down and move through life. And sometimes now I wear headphones, so it's like, fuck all these people. I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Which is interesting that you end up in this sport.
I used to not be able to eat the whole day before getting up here and stuff. It was so nerve-wracking to be in front of people. Now it's a lot easier.
Did you go to college?
I went to Florida State for a little while. Yeah. Yes. I didn't make it. I didn't graduate. If that helped, I kind of went on a flunk out of your college tour as I was. So I went there. I went to Georgia for a little while, but Tallahassee was where I spent about 4 or 5 years. And
then once you got out of, or once you left university life, what did you do before comedy popped into your life?
I was, you know, delivering pizzas or working in restaurants, and I had a landscaping business with my dad. It was, you know, and then so right when I kind of started comedy is when I quit drinking and was like, oh, okay, I can be more focused and.
That was the exact opposite for me.
Yeah.
Just when I started drinking, I got into comedy. So
I didn't really have a bunch of other jobs. No, I just kind of was working, you know, here and there, doing odd jobs. And
so at that point, and I would think that up until comedy came along, there was no real passion for anything, no real.
No, there was not. No, I couldn't find anything. In college, it felt like high school review. Nothing like struck me as I want to do that for the rest of my life. No.
Right. No. And then what was the comedy? You know, what was the thing that got you into comedy? What was that moment where you went, I'm going to go try this, and the first time you went and tried it, where that was? And
the very first time was in Tallahassee. I had some people I delivered pieces at Godfather's, and they were like, oh, there's a contest, you should go do it. So I just brought a bunch of friends, stacked the audience, and won the contest, you know. And then, yeah.
How do you lose when you're the pizza delivery guy
right.
in a college town?
Yeah. So and then you go, and then it was like a 3-month-long contest, and I was like, you know, where's the Tonight Show? Why haven't they shown up? You know. And so then I went back for the finals, and they were like, oh, we thought you weren't coming back. We never saw you again. Comics come back and they work their material and get better and better. I was like, nah, I don't need that. And then I went on stage in front of a packed house and had one of the worst sets of my ever life, you know. And then I just just started doing it, and I was like, I can do this. And I don't think there was a time where you're like, I'm going to be a comic. You just start fucking around and doing sets here and there, and then you get a gig here and you get a gig there and you get a gig, and then it's like, oh shit, you know, 2 years later you're like, oh, I'm a comic.
Well, and I think, but where the moment is in what you just said is, I went up, that we all have that. I think I can do it. I go to a contest, I go to an open mic, I invite my friends, and I have a great set, and then I'm on top of the world, and I think I'm just the hottest shit around. And then you have that humbling moment where you're really in the situation, yes. And you go in there and you find out you're not ready at all, and you're really not at any kind of level of even close to professional.
Right.
But that's the moment where you go, no, I'm not going to go do that again. That was humiliating.
Yes.
That was ridiculous. This isn't for me. But instead, it's where you get up there and do that and have that experience, and it is humiliating and it is tough, and you go, no, I can do this.
Right. Yes.
Which is that false sense of confidence we have.
Yes.
That carries us through.
I just, and then it took me about 2 years of doing sets here and there to realize, oh, you got to work at this, and you got to sit down and write every day. And I started reading books about how to write comedy and basic comedy theory and stuff like that. So I kind of went backwards and then started again, and then started trying to learn how to open up my creative process and how to get the writing onto the page.
Now you guys watch Tom tonight, and most of you seen a lot of comics, and you obviously don't. You move to topical material, to serious subject matter that can be disturbing somewhat, and try to make much as when you think about the greatest guy that in our generation was George Carlin, that kind of did that. And
I was more, I'm a Carlin fan, but it was, Hicks. After about 4 years, I started listening to a lot of Hicks and same kind of thing. You know?
Right, which is along that same vein. How much do you read? How much research do you do to develop your material?
Well, like the Fed stuff took a long time. It was, it's like sometimes I'll get it in my head, I want to tackle this subject, and I'll do tons of writing, and it narrows down to where it becomes like that 7 minutes. You know? Like now I'm trying to do oil, so I've been reading about oil and peak oil and oil and economy, and I know they're big subjects, that it's not just like, oh, here's the easy joke about it. So I try to break it down and find the laughs and find some sort of substance in there to talk about.
Well, and that's the thing that I tell comics when we teach them. I go, if you want to just be like, you can be funny, and you can just jump on something and come with the first thing that comes to your mind, and that's what 80% of the comics are going to come up with.
Right.
Or you can do research and really do in-depth research, and that's where you're going to get unique material, and that seems like what you do.
Yeah, I have to sort of write about 20 jokes before I find one that works in front of y'all. So it takes a long time to me to narrow them down and to get them honed, and then get it. And then it's like you got a bunch of jokes, and then I try to figure out what I'm trying to say within those jokes, or how I can make them relatable through my life of having a kid and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So I'm really kind of technical about it. You
have a reputation in the industry of being a hothead. No, I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Uncontrollable hothead.
Yes.
You have a reputation for being, when people say Tom Simmons, when they talk about Tom Simmons, first thing people say is they go, he's one of the best writers out there. He's a very meticulous writer. He really does the things that we just talked about. And that's something in this industry that's a great professional, and not a lot of them, because it takes more work, it takes more time, it takes more dedication to what you're doing.
And in my mind, I somehow, when you say that, I hear, oh, he's a great writer, which is saying, oh, he's not very funny. He's a good writer.
Well, and there is that thing.
Right.
There's that thing of great writer. Well, in some cases it's like great writer but not a great performer. But I think you perform and there's been several comics that over the years that I've worked with that were great writers, not great performers, and they became writers for great performers. You do both well. You could do either, but which most can't.
Right.
Yet, for you to be able to capitalize on that, you live now in North Carolina.
Yes.
With your family, you made that choice.
That's where my wife was born and raised, so that's where we ended up. We were in a motorhome, as you know. Before that, my wife and I lived in an RV for 3 years and drove around the country, and
Right.
Yeah, like a NASCAR fan. Exactly. Yes.
So.
Yes.
you are of
without the tobacco.
Your show is you as a professional are the type of person that I think, and like a lot of people think, are at a level where you could probably capitalize on that better in a major market.
Of course.
And how does that work? I mean, where's your decision on that? Is quality of life has to be big on
to me, we were going to live in New York or LA. We were going to live in LA actually, and at the time when we were selling our motorhome, and when we did the math, I would have been we had our baby, and the math was I would have had to be on the road every week in order to pay for us to be there, to live in LA.
Right.
And my wife would have had no help with Owen, and we'd have been scraping by where it'd been like, we can't go to a movie, and you get, money is such a weird, I don't want to have that argument in my life, with my wife a lot is about money, so we were like, we're not gonna, we just weren't willing to start over,
Okay.
Yeah, but I go to New York now some, I'm starting to go there more and more. don't feel like I'm in show business. My motto is, my feeling in my head, maybe it's wrong, has always been, if I just get great, they'll find me, and if I can't get great, then that's no, and I don't care. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. All right.
And I don't think there's an undiscussed, there's no Tiger Woods that's the best at something that people don't know of. You know what I mean? You get found if you just get great. That's been my belief.
Well, okay, all right.
So I'm sticking to that.
They'll find you in North Carolina.
Yeah, this is the capital of show business.
All right.
No, they won't. I just I keep doing comedy. I keep doing some contests here and there, or putting my name out. The television now, it's not. It obviously helps to be in those cities. Plus, the best are there.
Yes.
So
right.
you go there and it raises your level.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But I did the New York thing too, and I went there, and my ego, as a comic, I tell comics now, you got to get to New York or LA before you're making a living as a comedian. Because you have to stop doing that and start over when you get to New York or LA. You have to stop for 2 years, get a job, and start over, you know?
Right.
And my ego at the time wouldn't let, I was like, oh, I'm begging to do spots at 2 in the morning for 8 people and not get paid, as opposed to I can go on the road and get paid and be in front of a crowd full of people and learn comedy. So that's kind of, I took that route.
So now you have the opportunity with the web, with this, to promote yourself out of North Carolina. Are you utilizing that?
I do the Pew Tweets thing. That helps.
Okay.
I do. I have my website. I have a podcast that just kind of wrapped up. It was called Bully the Bullies, where there's probably about 25, 30 episodes online where we went after fundamentalists every week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's very niche orientated, and so we would go after, like after the Colorado shooting, when Rick Warren and those guys were all like, "This is God is using this to teach us a lesson." So we mock that basically.
Right. Right.
You know.
So
I am a little, and I'm starting to do it more. I've always been the worst at the business.
Right.
I like writing jokes and concentrating on that. The self-promotion part just makes my skin kind of crawl. I don't know.
And I think that's the thing. I'm the same way as an artist. Is that I had an accountant tell me once that you're never going to make any money if you just try to make it show to show to show.
Right.
The only way you're going to make any money is by writing a book, by creating some object, something that people can buy for $10 or $15.
So yeah, I make CDs. I promote my CDs on iTunes. Yeah. So it's like I'm trying to, just keep working. That's all I'm trying.
Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
I was just wondering, how often do you change your act, or do you have an act for Monday night and then a different one for Wednesday night, or do you stick with the same one for quite a while and then just change it, or does it gradually evolve?
It's more a gradual evolution, and then jokes kind of have, for me anyway, I kind of think of them in chunks, like the money stuff or the Barack Obama stuff, and what happens is, as social consciousness is kind of raised on a subject, those jokes come back into the wave. Like every time somebody shoots a bunch of people and then shoots himself, that joke about the suicide hotline joke, ooh, it's new again, you know what I mean? It crushes, so it has new life. And then somehow, either over a couple months of telling a joke, something happens where it kind of just peaks and starts to lose its energy somehow and its connection, and then it'll drift out of the act, and then something happens where it's back in, and now it's like, oh, I just wrote it again, and now it comes back up. So the Barack stuff went away for 2 years, and then it can kind of come back now because it's back in the news, or if Israel-Palestine has a bunch of problems, I have some old jokes about that. Kind of every time there's a disaster, I can have some of the jokes that I'd written a little time before added to the new jokes that I write about it, so then it becomes another, they just kind of go in waves.
So you just got to hope that there's a disaster every now and then.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly.
I mean, without a disaster, you're really screwed.
Yeah. And I try to write topical.
Can't be a happy time in America. Tom Simmons.
That's right. Nobody wants to hear a guy come up here and go, man, I love to fly. My relationship's working great. My wife has sex with me all the time. She still blows me. What's wrong with you people? No, it's like...
No. Any other questions? Yeah? You had something back there? No? Anybody else curious about anything? Yes.
So how much time do you spend writing? Let's say in a week.
It's not as, I'm embarrassed to say, not as much as I would like to. I do a lot more on Facebook and Twitter now than I used to, but my sanity and my act is better if I get up every day and I journal write for about 40 minutes. They're morning pages, it's like this book I read, Artist's Way, that kind of really got me there. So if I spend that 45 minutes to an hour writing with that, then that's huge for my act. I'd like to do it about 3-4 hours a day, but I never really stop. I'm always trying to think of the joke, or I hear a word in a sentence, and it's like I'm constantly carrying around pieces of paper and notebooks and writing in them and typing into my phone and trying to find the joke. So it never really totally shuts off, but actually sitting down and doing it probably about, an hour a day, which is embarrassing that I don't do more, to tell you the truth.
More than me.
Yeah.
Another one? Yeah.
So, natural disasters are great for your act, just like the news. But what about real life, like with your son? Do you find that you have less funny moments because you spend more time writing, or do you spend more time writing about the true moments that happen?
I write about the true moments that happen, you know what I mean? Mostly, like the thing about the man versus wild thing was almost, word for word what happened. Same with the AC/DC thing. So, and then the him racking his balls on the thing, same kind of thing. It's like those are just real life moments that happen. Naming him and then saying that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of our lives or whatever. That my father-in-law said to me, and I was like, that is a great line. I'm writing that down. So it's mostly about me reacting to the things that are happening in my real life, and then if people around me laugh or if it sticks in my head, I'll go write it down and try to talk about it. And like I said, I have 20 other stories about Owen or whatever that don't click over and work. A joke has to do, to me, it has to work about 80% of the time if I'm going to do it in the act regularly. So I'll do a story about something that just happened with him and it lays flat. I'll try it a couple more times and then I cut it loose, Unless something else happens later on that I'm writing and it connects to that, then I can bring that back and then somehow that joke is stronger again somehow. It's like sometimes when you clump a bunch of B jokes together, somehow they become A jokes if there's a string of them,
Absolutely. There was somebody in the back? Okay.
Yeah, a couple things. I'm starting out. I took Les's class, right, and did open mic with you guys last night.
Right.
Any suggestions for starting out comedians? And second part, any favorite comedians that you listen to? Anybody do like modeling yourself after, or say, God, here's somebody that I just really love?
There's a lot of really good comics, He's got a guy here that comes here. Daryl Lennox is a really good friend of mine. That's a great comic, and most of it's people that you haven't heard of that I really love because those are the people that I relate. Danny Bevins and Kostaki Economopoulos, and then the people that like Dave Attell and Bill Burr and Louis C.K. and those. There's a bunch of guys that are really good that I kind of watch and. Or I'll work with a guy and be like, I worked with a guy, Shane Moss, a couple months ago, and I was like, you work with somebody that's like, oh, I need to get to work, But as far as advice for young comics, I'm sure he said it, just write every day and get on stage. You can't do anything else but that. There's no shortcut except write. Because the stuff you have, now, you won't be doing in 5 years, more than likely. You got to replace it.
I can't even remember what I did 5 years ago.
Right. Did really?
For real.
None of it makes the cut still?
No.
Really?
No, some does, if I remember it.
Right. I'll do that. I'll go back.
I know. Every once in a while, well, what happens is I work, I'll be sitting up here and I'll be doing something and then I'll be talking to the audience and it'll remind me of a bit and I'll go, and I'll start right into it. And then I'll go, and then in my back of my head, I'll go, holy shit, I hope I can remember the rest of this frickin' bit because I hadn't done it in 5 years. I can't even, I go, I hope it just kind of happens.
And it does most of the time.
Yeah, usually it does. You get to the end, you're like, oh, God.
That's the best, when you have a joke that you've written and you've tried and it's kind of like gone out of the act and then something comes up in the crowd where, like let's say like a funeral joke or whatever, and I don't do it, and then something comes up about a funeral and then boom, you have that joke. It's like you just thought of it on stage and it works again to a level like, oh shit, that should be in the act. And then you start trying it in your act regular. No, there's a reason why it's not in the act.
It was good in that moment.
Yeah, but those are great to have, like you're saying, like it shocks your memory back to a joke I have about this and boom,
absolutely.
Yes.
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 Second City.
Or good improv.
Yes. Yes. Last question, I ask everybody this. What's the great bit you haven't written yet? Is there something that's been rolling around in your head for a while and obviously this fits the way you write, that is an issue that is either you're passionate or excited about, or maybe very, very disturbed about, that you go, man, I really want to take this on, and it's been there, but you haven't quite done it yet.
This whole feeling I have of end times, that kind of feeling, and collapse, I want to kind of write about that emotion. Like, to me, I think there's a part of me that the reason I think that the world's coming to an end is because subconsciously I know it is coming to an end for me as an individual. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that we generally project that onto the world, like it's all coming to an end. Well, yeah, it's coming to an end for you. You know.
Exactly.
So I kind of want to tackle the psychology behind that. I also want to try to do I want to work on, to tell you the truth, a comedy documentary about oil and addiction. You know, and like, what are the steps of addiction? What are the processes of recovering from addiction? What are the consequences of addiction? And then show, you know, how we're addicted to oil, how every one of our presidents has said that, and how you can kind of parallel the concept of society to an individual, and that we're doing all the same things destructively to our country and that we would be doing to ourselves if we were on crack.
Oh, cool. And it's so much like a Roger Moore type of, yeah.
So that, you know, those are the subject. And it's funny you say that about what's the next. I write that in the beginning of every joke notebook. Your best joke hasn't been written yet.
Oh, very nice.
And hopefully I can get to that joke.
That's great. Well, thanks, Tom. And thank
you.
you guys
Thanks
for hanging out.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Are you selling your CD here?
I do not have any left.
Okay, so they can go to your website?
You can get them on iTunes or at tomsimmonscomedy.com. I have four CDs that are out, so they're all there. And then on Twitter, T. Simmons Comedy, and Facebook, all that.
Oh, great. And tomorrow morning we'll be on 107.9 WSRZ, which also streams on the web from 8 to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, if you happen to be watching this right now from Beirut.
Yes.
I don't know. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.